Yo. We are back for another episode of Just a Fan Podcast.
What up, people?
You said what?
I said, what up, people?
What up?
If there's anybody in the box who I will wait for, give a few minutes for folks to log on and we can talk some football. I'm sending out invites as we speak.
Yes, sir.
So go ahead.
So while he getting everything situated and stuff, I am the NFL Encyclopedia, the Wildcat quarterback that runs this thing, Coach Williams. And to my left, the guy that runs the defense on this thing, his harder than Steve Atwater when he knocked out the Nigerian Nightmare. Pando 316 right. What's up, man?
Man, it's all good, man. You got it, man. Last week we did a show called Viewer's Choice. We did a show called Viewer's Choice. It really went off well, and we was like, okay, let's go ahead and do this again because this was pretty cool. We had some really good feedback from the fans. Had some good questions, some good comments. We said, hey, man, we're kind of in a lull with the NFL season right now. Let's do it. Let's do it again, and get some of these great comments and questions from our fans, and let's talk some football.
Yeah, man. Basically, last week was pretty much like a dead week, but this week is a little bit more active, and it started like late Thursday, Friday. Thursday, Friday last week. Titans released a couple of players, and then you start seeing that trickle into this week where like guys like Carson Wentz got released. Deron Payne got the franchise tag. The franchise tag window, the window to franchise tag a player ends next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So I'm expecting a lot of news. So guys, if you all ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you have any questions regarding what's going on in the NFL right now or what you think might happen, chime in, ask a question, make a statement, make a bold prediction. Make a bold prediction about free agency, a trade, a draft pick, a player getting released that we didn't see coming. Because trust me, there's been times that I was surprised the first 2 days of free agency. I remember when Jerry's Bird left Buffalo and went straight to New Orleans. I didn't see that coming. I was surprised when Stephon Gilmore left Buffalo and went straight to New England. I didn't see that coming. So, I mean, if y'all think any bold predictions going to happen, hey, say something.
Wow, nobody's in right now. Like last week, we hit the ground running, man. People was coming in, and we couldn't even get introductions down, and it was boom, 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 boom.
I know, right?
What do you think about this? Well, I think this. And I'm like, we ain't got any hits so far. But while we talk about it, we could talk.
Oh, hold on. We got a question here then.
Okay, what we got?
Who's getting that number one pick out of Chicago? Well, and that's a good question, Eric James. Because what we have now is we have Chicago confirming that they are going to stick with.
They are shopping at
Fields.
Yeah,
so since they're sticking with Justin Fields at quarterback, they said, hey, we're willing to trade this draft pick Who's willing to jump up and get him? My thing is this, and let me pull up the draft order real quick, because I don't want to be all over the place with what I'm going to say. Mock draft. Just give me somebody so I can see the order. Come on. So picking number 2 is Houston. Okay, yeah, Houston. If I'm Houston, I would just go and make that trade up because you want to make sure that you get the quarterback you want. You know Chicago's going to trade back. Just go get who you want and make sure you evaluate all the quarterbacks you're looking at. Evaluate Bryce Young all the way through. Evaluate CJ Stroud all the way through. If you think you like Anthony Richardson enough, evaluate him. If you think you like Will Levis enough, evaluate him. But do your homework. It is tomorrow morning, or tonight at midnight. It's going to be the beginning of March. You have a full month and like 3/4 of April to start evaluating these quarterbacks. Do your homework on the field, off the field, interviews, everything you need to do. You need to talk to the coaching staff at the colleges. You need to talk to the janitors at the colleges. You need to talk to the teachers school. You need to talk to the cafeteria workers in high school. You need to talk to the next door neighbor when they live somewhere else than where they live now. Like you that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. Eric, anything you want to say about that?
They definitely have to. They're definitely going to have to fill in that roster. I think they did hit on their quarterback. I think Justin Fields is he's a work in progress, but they've got to surround him with some talent, so it won't be just him trying to save the world. Like kind of like what's going on with Lamar Jackson right now. There's no excuse really for Chicago at this point. They got the number 1 pick overall. They're shopping it around so they can get more picks. They have the most cap space of any team in the NFL right now. They're close to $100 million in cap space. Like they could literally go out and purchase a whole new team if they do it right. Now, what they have to watch out for, and they got to really be careful with, just because you have it doesn't mean you need to spend it. Everybody that's a talent on another team is not necessarily someone that will fit your team. And just because, this guy's a big name and he did this over here, he may not necessarily fit with your team. And you might have wasted millions of dollars on a guy just because he was a big name when you could have spent less money on a guy who fits what you're trying to do as a team. So that's a cautionary. That's just me telling Chicago, hey, you guys need to be careful. Just because you got it don't mean you need to spend it. Because again, cap space rolls over. You don't have to. It's not like, this is Bruce's Millions. You remember that old Richard Pryor movie? This is not like I got to spend all of this by a certain amount of time or I'm not gonna get it. That money rolls over, man. So yes, you have all this cap space. Yes, you have the number 1 pick overall, and I think it's a good idea to shop it because you're content with your quarterback, which is a good thing to have the number 1 pick overall and already have your quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, sure. How many?
It's a good thing.
I mean, It's rare. Not even just number 1 overall, but it's rare. Like even in the top 5 to have your quarterback, man. I mean, usually, if a team is in the top 5 and they have their quarterback, well, something must have happened during the regular season for them to, end up in the top 5. Like, maybe the quarterback got hurt. Because I remember Dallas drafting Zeke number 4 overall, but that previous year, Romo missed like 12 games. So that's why they ended up with the number 4 overall pick back in 2016. But you already had your quarterback and Tony Romo at the time. Of course, we all saw what happened with that. But I mean, Yeah, that's what happened. That's rare.
Yeah. And then the biggest thing is finding that quarterback that you want. And if you got your quarterback, I'm going to be honest. If the GM and the coaching staff um, for Chicago is smart, they can really put together a monster team in short order. But don't pull a LA Rams. And what I mean by that is go all in and try to win a Super Bowl with a bunch of free agents and
F them
trade.
picks.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. The F them picks method, because the F them picks method is gonna leave you high and dry. Look at how the Rams wound up last year. Oh yeah, they Super Bowl champs. They had the worst title defense of any Super Bowl champion in the modern era. It was the worst title defense ever. And you got to be careful with who you bring in. You got to. All right, I think we getting some questions in here. What did you have up, Brandon? Word on the street is they're looking at trading Justin and taking Bryce. No, they actually right now they're sticking with Justin Fields. In fact, it's been reported by several outlets that they're looking to trade the number one pick, which makes a lot of sense because you can trade back and pick up a plethora of picks. And the best way to build your team for sustainability, and let me be clear on that, because if you want to just win right this second and devil may care after this year, go ahead and spend that $98 million in cap space. But if you want to have sustainability as a franchise, then the smart thing to do would be to build through the draft. And if you don't really need that number one pick overall, there's a bunch of people that's clamoring wanting a quarterback. You know, hey man, you want this pick? What you willing to give for it? You know, and then you pick up a crap ton of picks after that, because that number one pick has a lot of value. A lot of value, especially for teams who do not have a quarterback. So I'd have my phone right by me to see who's gonna call and see what they offering, and let's make a move on it. And then after that trade is done, you got more picks to trade back even further. Hear me out. This is hypothetical. Chicago sends the number one pick to New Orleans for the 29, a day 3, and Michael Thomas. I don't want it, but the Saints reworked his contract for a reason. Eric, I don't think that's going to happen because that's not enough value for that pick. That's
Definitely not enough value.
Yeah, there's a point system for draft picks. The number one pick overall has a very high value, and that 29, that day 3 pick, and Michael Thomas, who is an oft-injured wide receiver, that's not enough points to
exactly.
They will hang the phone up in your face.
Yes.
I'm serious. Yeah. Not to mention, you talking about trading with an NFC rival. So he's someone within conference. If you're trading that pick away for somebody in conference, they'd be like, no, they'd hang up. Like, no. So I don't see that. They have to give away something really sweet.
Yeah, that's clearly not enough. Chicago's not going to want to take on that contract, even if it is reworked. Day three could be anything. That could be anything from 4 through 7. That's not enough. And you're talking about 29. I mean, you almost have to do the Ricky Williams trade when New Orleans gave up all the picks that one year, and then the first and third round pick the following year just to move up. So no. Yeah. Let's move on to the next topic. We had another good question a few minutes ago. Who picks up Jalen Ramsey?
You want to get this one? I could go all day talking about that.
All right, so here, look, Jalen Ramsey. Look, somebody's going to pick him up, and okay, but Jalen Ramsey is not who he used to be. Let's just go ahead and put that out there now. Jalen Ramsey. Oh, let me kill this real quick. Jalen Ramsey is not who he used to be. So all that Jalen Ramsey talk, I mean, it may sound good right now, but really, like let's say Tennessee picks him up. Okay, for some odd reason, Tennessee picks him up. Tennessee is in the AFC, not just the AFC South, but he's in the AFC. Matter of fact, let's start off with the South. I don't see Jalen Ramsey at this point in his career, the way he's playing, being able to deal with Christian Kirk or Calvin Ridley, especially with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback and Doug Peterson as the head coach. Calling plays, Doug Peterson calling plays on offense. So I just think Jalen Ramsey gets smoked at corner trying to cover either Christian Kirk or Calvin Ridley. The rest of the AFC, well, who won the Super Bowl? You know how their passing game is. I'm not even mentioning them. Cincinnati, you know who their wide receivers are. Hey, Jameson, my bad. I just threw your team out there as an example. I'm not saying
Jameson know what Jalen Ramsey is. That's why he's like, we don't want him. Because
right.
the smart teams are like, yeah, because not only that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Brandon. But another thing about Jalen Ramsey, this is not a release and sign him to a new contract. We're talking about a trade here. And right now, his deal is like $17 million. And at this point in his career, Jalen Ramsey is not worth $17 million.
And guess what? I'm gonna tell you something. I'm hearing a rumor. I don't know how true this is. Once he gets traded, he wants a contract extension.
And here's a classic example. I'm glad you said that. Here's a classic example of someone overvaluing themselves.
Yes,
because that's all he do. I'm him. That's all he talk about. I'm him, and it's like, no, you're not.
There was a time.
No, you're not. There was a time. Yes, there was a time.
There was a time
when Jalen Ramsey was the best corner in the league. That time is long since passed.
Not all, of course, but there are a lot of players who have had their time, but eventually time runs out for you.
Yeah,
and it's happened to Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey once is going to get traded. Somebody's going to get him. And I wouldn't give him a contract extension, but the one thing I've learned in the NFL, and I learned it with in this century, and that is all it takes is one team, one GM to do so.
Yeah, because people do crazy stuff.
Yes,
people do crazy stuff. They do. He's like a $25.2 million cap hit. That's why the Rams are trying to get out from underneath him. And there's a reason. Listen to me now, folks. There's a reason why he's on the trade block. One,
it's a bad contract.
If he was him, then they'd be like, oh, well, let's try to restructure and keep him. But they know that he's seen his better days. Now, do I think he's washed? No, I don't. But as a premier corner in this league now, no, sir. No, sir, he is not. And it's once again, and this is an example of, especially in a position like defensive back, where guys rely so much on their physical ability and not their football
technique.
Say again?
Did not rely on the technique and like
not technique and football acumen. His technique has gotten really sloppy as he's gotten slower and less quick, less agile. His technique is not what it used to be. And that's because when he got in the league, he was big, he was fast, he was strong. Well, everything, when you're in the NFL, everything starts to go down. It's just like a car. When you drive it off the lot, it starts to depreciate the minute you drive it off the lot. In the NFL, you start off here and you do this. Eric James says, send him to the Commanders. I don't think the Commanders want him because they have a pretty solid young secondary. Those guys are young. Again, that's one of those situations like, well, what we want with him. He halfway out the door, and we got a bunch of young guys on their rookie deals that we don't have to pay that much. What we want him for, And actually, he just has not worked on his game in it. Yeah, and that's the point I was making before, Twan. He hasn't worked on his game.
No, he hasn't.
As far as the technique and the actual football IQ. Prime example, somebody with a long career, never was really physically gifted, but he just worked on his technique, and he was very, very smart and savvy football player, which allowed him to play longer than he should have. And that's Richard Sherman.
Yes.
Richard Sherman never was fast. Richard Sherman never was quick, but he was so doggone smart. And he worked on his technique so much that he managed to stay relevant for a very long time. And he was smart enough to say, you know what? I ain't got it no more. Let me go do this podcast. And he's doing really well with his podcast. Shout out to Richard Sherman. But Jalen Ramsey is the antithesis of that. Come into the league extremely fast, extremely big, rangy. But I'm just going to lean on all of that, and I'm going to just do all of this instead of actually working on my game and getting better.
Because, and like you said a few minutes ago, when you get to NFL, your body slows down, breaks down, everything. Because I look at it, I feel like every 3 years you get slower than what you once was. It may not show up in your 40 as soon as you think it will, but I just think every 3 years, you slow down, and you need to become like a wide receiver. Yeah, you got all the speed and stuff, but you need to become a better route runner. Jerry Rice played 20 years of football. A lot of it was because of his football acumen and because he was a terrific route runner. Darrell Green played 20 years in the NFL. His speed and his technique was very, very good. So you really have to know what you're doing. You have to stay on top of. I'm sorry. If you just rely on your physicality, you're not gonna have a long career. But if you work on your technique and your football acumen, you can last a lot longer than you probably should have.
Yo, I'm starting to see a lot of people come in to the chat box. We are going to get to your comments. We love it when they just keep them coming. If you got questions or comments about anything, keep them coming. This is what the show is about. It's about your comments and your views, and we're going to try to address all of the relevant ones that we have. So keep them coming, please. Jameson Owens says Jalen Ramsey should move to safety. Here's my knock on that. Jameson, Jalen does not have the physicality to play safety. I don't know how many missed tackles he's had this year or how many times he's been ran over or just bodied. If you want to move him to safety, usually it's got to be somebody that has some sense of being able to make open field tackles. And Deebo Samuel has posterized him on several occasions. I'm just using that for an example because I'm a Niners fan, but other receivers have done the same. There's highlight reels of him getting bodied. So you have to have that physicality, and he lacks that. He does not make great open field tackles. He's not a thumper. He's not going to go and fill in and on run support. That's just not what he does.
And he doesn't have the range to be a deep ball safety. And my question to you is, does he have the vision? Because when you're playing safety is like, well, of course, it's a middle linebacker, but just line up further back, and of course, you're smaller. Middle linebackers got to be able to see all of that and process it fast. When you're a safety, you're seeing way more to field than what the middle linebacker sees, because you're seeing not just what's going on in the box, but you're seeing what the receivers are doing, and you got to be able to recognize the route combination, whether it's 2 receivers over there, 3 receivers over there. 3 wide receivers and a running back. Like, what are they doing over there? Or are they over here? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is going on? And you got to be able to process it fast. You got to see what you got to have your eyes on the quarterback to see, okay, is he throwing the ball to this guy? It's a lot going on, and you got to be able to process it so fast.
And then also, somebody in the comment box also said, which was very, very good statement, is like he doesn't have the discipline to play safety because he likes to freelance a lot. And that's being a safety thank you. Twan said that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have the discipline to play safety.
No.
He likes to freelance way too much, and you have to be an extremely disciplined player. You got to have strong eye discipline and, not to over pursue a play and so on and so forth. And right now, Jalen Ramsey is a corner. Jalen Ramsey is no longer hold up, y'all boys talking like Jay Ramsey is trash. Nope, not yet. But he's moving there. He's recyclable.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't been checking the film, really. Because he had like one good game all season. Like, it was close. It was the end of the season. The Rams were done. They had been out of contention. I think he had like a 2-pick game or something like that. I think it was week 17 or 18, I believe. And it's like, Yeah, but what about the other 16 weeks that you played where you were god awful, or you were just man? So yeah, what we're saying is, Jamie. By the way, thanks for tuning in. That's my frat brother, Jamie Brunson. Shout out, bigger worm. But what we're saying about him is basically that with the contract that comes with trading for him, he's not worth it. That's
and he's looking for a contract extension.
Thank you. And he's again, he thinks he's got a greater value of himself than what the rest of the league has a value.
And I'll make this the last response to anything about Jalen Ramsey. Then we're moving on.
Okay.
He's undisciplined as hell, but far from trash. Let me say this: when you're undisciplined in football, especially in professional football, you would get exposed so bad that then you end up becoming trash. So if he's not trash today, he will be trash tomorrow. Not literally tomorrow, but because he's undisciplined, he's going to become trash eventually. So there's no need to trade for him, give up draft capital for him when I can have a younger corner and I can develop him. And you're trying to get a contract extension, which means more money. No, I'm good. Thank you. All right. Here's a good question here. Do you think the Commanders did by releasing Carson? I think if I rephrase your question, I think you're trying to ask me or ask us, did the Commanders do a good job of releasing Carson Wentz? Yes. Because, and I've said on the show, if you heard me on the show about roughly a month and a half ago, I have said that I think Carson Wentz is Tom Tupa Jr.
There you go. I knew you was going there.
Okay. And this is what I mean by Tom Tupa Jr. Anybody who remembers Tom Tupa Jr. was a punter and a quarterback. Okay. Now, they made him, of course, they always list him at punter, but in case of emergency, he would play quarterback or he would do a fake punt pass, okay, because he had quarterback background. Well, when a punter punts the ball, he punts the ball to the other team, okay? Carson Wentz is so bad at quarterback and throws so many interceptions, he throws the ball to the other team. Now, is he a punter? No. But what Eric has decided to call him is an arm punter because you know that when he drops back to throw the football, what is he going to do? He's going to throw an interception. It's going to go to the other team, which in turn makes him pretty much an arm punter. Carson Wentz is Tom Tupa Jr. Somebody need to find Tom Tupa and say, look, I don't know how many kids you have, but here's your unclaimed child right here. His name is Carson Wentz. You need to go ahead and start bonding today. You need to start bonding today because he knows how to give the ball to the other team just like you do. He just does it differently than you do. And another thing about Carson Wentz, when he was on his way out of Philadelphia, there were rumors, and it became true, that he was a mentally weak quarterback. And so Philadelphia got rid of him, traded him to Indianapolis. Indianapolis was like, oh no, they got rid of him, traded him to Washington, and now Washington releases him. You've been on 3 teams in the last 3 years.
3 years.
Remember 2016, you was the you was the first round number 2 overall pick. Round 1, number 2 overall pick, and you have now played on 3 teams in 3 years. You are mentally weak. You throw the ball to anybody and everybody. Okay? You worse than Andy Dalton throwing the ball to Pam Oliver.
So let me address Carson Wentz from the financial side of it.
Oh God, $26 million cap hit. Well, cap savings now.
Yeah. So first of all, you're talking about a guy who did not play very well, and he basically had $5 million in guarantees coming to him on the 17th of March if he wasn't cut. then he has $4 million of his 2023 salary guaranteed to him on the 17th as well. So you got $9 million of money that you had to pay somebody who basically didn't help you almost make the playoffs. It was mostly Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
So all told, you're looking at that's the $9 million, not counting the 28.2 that he was being owed if you'd have kept him on the roster. And then plus that $9 million. So, like, what do we need you for if we're paying you all this money and we're winning games with Sam Howell and Taylor Heineke? Like, bruh, like that's an extreme. That's like having a TV paying for cable that you never watch. It's like it doesn't make sense
at all.
So I think the Commanders did a great job getting rid of that dead weight, moving forward. And you got a young quarterback in Sam Howell. We don't know what he is yet. He may be good, he may not be, but it's better. We know, and I'm gonna say it. I usually reserve this comment for Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm gonna say it for Carson Wentz. We've seen this movie. We know how it ends.
Yeah.
So we don't know what Sam Howell is. Sam Howell is just a trailer for a blockbuster. We don't know.
There you go.
We don't know what this movie is going to be. We've seen Carson Wentz Part 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
And we know that it's like the Star Wars sequel trilogy. It's god awful. So we know what it is, and there's no point in going to the box office and paying all that money and buying all that popcorn and buying all that candy. No, sir, no.
Like you said, you rather deal with Sam Howell. I tell you what, I'd rather deal with majority of these quarterbacks coming out of college this year than deal with Carson Wentz.
Absolutely.
And I know the first two names is Bryce Young and CJ Stroud and stuff, but Anthony Richardson, man, I'll drive Anthony Richardson on that rookie contract, break him down, develop him, make him the quarterback I think he can be, because I know that I have an opportunity with Anthony Richardson, and I have no chance whatsoever with Carson Wentz. As a matter of fact, and I've said this to Eric and the guys in the football group. I said I don't even think I want a quarterback, because if my starter goes down and I'm relying on you to win 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5 football games, can I rely on you to not turn the ball over like you do? No. I mean, I just rather not deal with you. You're not it at quarterback. As a matter of fact, let me just say this: Carson Wentz need to retire.
Yeah,
he's not going to, but he should retire. Just get it out the way.
With you a little bit.
Finish. Go get yourself a regular 9-to-5 job. Go work at Bank of America as a bank teller. Go work at UPS. Go work at Lowe's Home Improvement and load heavy stuff into the back of someone's vehicle and keep it moving.
So here's the thing. I think that there's a market for him, albeit a very small one. But what has to happen, honestly, with a guy like Carson Wentz, is that he has to, again, you have to know your value at a certain point. You know, they say that old saying, know your worth. Yes, you have to know your value, that don't let anybody cheat you. But at the same time, if you want to stay in this league, because the acronym NFL stands for not for long, is basically to know, okay, I need to try to claw my way back up into respectability. And at this point, Carson Wentz is at the bottom of the barrel of respectability as an NFL starting quarterback.
Definitely.
Okay, so what he's going to have to do is he's going to have to humble himself if he wants to stay in his league. And if somebody comes calling and says, hey, you want to come be our backup quarterback? He's got to say, you know what? I know I was drafted up here. I know I got paid X amount of dollars. I know I was almost an MVP candidate. My a rookie of the year candidate, I believe, was
He was almost MVP candidate. His second year in the league.
Yeah, it was MVP candidate. Thank you. I know all of that, but we're here now. We're not back here. We're here, and he's got to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to take this backup job. I'm going to play for very little and get a chance to work my way back. And even if I don't get to work my way back, I need to go ahead and be cool with being a perennial backup, or find a place where I can compete.
Yeah,
or be a bridge quarterback. At this point in his career, Carson Wentz is going to have to accept being that.
That's right. Yeah, matter of fact, you can go to some offensive minded coaches and try to be a backup somewhere. Like you go to Kansas City,
revitalize
to Patrick Mahomes and learn how to play quarterback. Go to Denver. Learn from Sean Payton. Learn stuff from Sean Payton.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you have to go ahead and accept where you are in your career at a certain point. So, all right. So let's keep it going. I think we didn't beat up Carson Wentz enough. Make sure you put your questions and comments in the box, folks, because we're enjoying this. Keep them coming.
Yeah. I actually kind of want to go back a little bit. Now, when this person made this comment, I thought he was a Cowboys fan, but then he made some other comments, and now I just think he's a Commanders fan. So, anyway, he says, let's get rid of Dak Prescott. My thing with get rid of Dak Prescott is, and I know he threw.
Hold on a second before you get started. I want to go ahead and say for our new viewers, Brandon is a die-hard Dallas Cowboy fan. So before he even gets started, I need y'all to understand this man is not a hater. He loves the Cowboys more than some people think they love the Cowboys. But he's also a realistic fan, and that's why he has my respect. So before he gets started, I need y'all to understand this man's going to be spitting some real stuff. He ain't going to talk like Michael Irvin and Skip Bayless, so he might make you mad. Okay, he keeps it 100 about his team. Go ahead, Brandon.
All right. Look, I know Dak Prescott threw a lot of interceptions. Some of that was on him. Some of that was on players just catching the ball and then for some reason just leaves their hands and goes to a defender. And you're like, come on now, dude. That interception goes against Dak Prescott. But I don't think Dak Prescott. I think this was more of a 1 year thing where it just looks so bad. Then I think it's going to be a trend. Dak Prescott, really in his career, the only true wide receiver he's had in his career, for real, is Amari Cooper, and that lasted. I know he was in Dallas for 4 years, but he came in halfway through 2018, and Dak missed half of 2020. So you're only talking about 3 seasons really with Amari Cooper out of 8 years. So CeeDee Lamb has developed into number one, but CeeDee Lamb didn't truly develop into number one until Dak got healthy this season because Cooper Rush was not it. So I want to see Dak with CeeDee Lamb, but also with somebody else because Gallup had a bad leg this year. He wasn't ready. Jalen Tolbert did not pan out as a 3rd round pick this year. And so our second best wide receiver was Noah Brown, who last year, and I mean 2021 season, he was our 5th receiver. So our second best receiver was really our 5th string wide receiver. So I want to see more before I can just sit here and just say, hey, let's get rid of Dak Prescott. Because when I've seen Dak with good receivers, he doesn't throw as many interceptions. He's had better games. Now, were the results not good in the playoffs? Sure, it wasn't. I get that. Throwing an interception to double coverage with CeeDee Lamb with a Mike Backer and a slot and an overhang. I'm going to just say overhang because I don't know if it was a corner or not. I think part of that was also Kellen Moore for keep lining up CeeDee Lamb in the slot, knowing that Fred Warner is running with your wide receiver. Like, come on, dude. Like, If you notice throughout the game, Fred Warner's running with CeeDee Lamb down the field as well. Line them up on the outside. Try to find some way to get a mismatch going. Like, put your quarterback in position to succeed more than fail. And last year was more of a just Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Tony Pollard, and nothing else. I just want more before I pull the plug on Dak Prescott. I'm not ready to do that yet.
I want to again address this from the financial side of it. Get rid of Dak Prescott. Okay, that's an $89 million cap hit. $89 million cap hit. You go completely over the cap. You can't do anything else. Also, next thing, for who?
Who you replace him with? Thank you. That's another thing. Who do you replace him with? Because you're not going to be able to afford Lamar Jackson if you try to get him. You're not going to be able to afford Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is also a big cap hit once he gets traded, if he gets traded. Derek Carr is I heard he's looking for $35 million, but even then you wouldn't be able to afford him. After that, who are you getting? Because you're looking at Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz just got released. So who are you replacing Dak Prescott with? This is not Madden on turn off salary cap mode, and then you can go trade Dak Prescott for Patrick Mahomes, and you give up 3 first-round picks in the process. This is not Madden. There's a reason why the NFL is structured the way it is, and they have this. And the salary cap. The salary cap in the NFL is the hardest salary cap in professional sports. All these other owners, the owners in these other leagues, professional leagues, they want that NFL cap, but guess what? They're never going to get it because they didn't structure it the way the NFL did.
And the thing is like I get it. You want this guy and that guy. You want to get rid of this guy and that guy, but it's a lot of fans that don't really pay attention to or understand how the salary cap and contracts work. And it's like it's not that simple. It's like you might get rid of a guy, but you're still paying for a guy after you get rid of him, depending on how his contract is structured. You like, oh yeah, let's go get this guy, but then you trade for that guy, you inherit the contract that guy had with that team. And it's like then you look at what you're paying versus what you're getting. Yeah. And I hate to go back to Jalen Ramsey, but Titus, you late. Drop. Not playing. But yeah, you look at what you're paying for that guy versus what you're getting. It's like, wait a minute, this is not adding up here. It's like I just saw a picture on Facebook. This girl bought an 89 Corolla for $289 a month. She had a note on an 89 Corolla. That's the type of thing, this what I'm paying is not work. It's not what I'm getting. So the cap and these contracts and all these other things like that, you have to look at that stuff, and can't think with I'm going to say it like this, a Madden mindset. Because a lot of fans will look at stuff and like I said, we're just fans, but we got to be realistic about it. And you can't just look at it with a Madden mindset. I'm going to cut off this salary cap and I'm finna go get everybody. It don't work like that in the real world. So,
it doesn't.
Yeah. And these teams that have great GMs and CFOs, usually these are the teams that stay winning. They're in the, they finished as one of the last 4 teams in the league or one of the last 8 teams in the league, so on and so forth, because they manage their cap really well. If you see them in the playoffs constantly, it's because 1, they evaluate talent well, and 2, they figure out how to pay that talent and keep everybody together.
Yep.
So that's a big part of it. Not just being able to evaluate talent. You can go to the combine and say, oh, he's good. You can go look at free and say, oh, okay, yeah, he's good. But how are we going to get him in here and keep him here and keep our finances together where we can keep some of our bigger names?
And my thing is this too, and also going back to replacing Dak Prescott. I said this last week when I was talking about how an all-pro quarterback or Hall of Fame quarterback can spoil the living daylights out of you. If you a true Cowboys fan and you go back as far as I do, you remember the era between Troy Aikman and Tony Romo. There was 8 different starting quarterbacks between the two. How do I know? Because Tony Romo was number 9, and that was his jersey number 9. So you talking about replacing Dak Prescott again for who? Because we went through Quincy Carter, we went through Ryan Leaf, we went through Clint Sterner, Chad Hutchinson, Drew Henson, so forth and so on. So who are you replacing Dak Prescott with if you want to replace Dak Prescott? Guys, yeah, if you have any more questions, comments, please bring them. This is a great interactive show, just like last week's show was fantastic.
Yeah, so let's scroll back.
Do we have anything else?
I'm looking. Because they was at one point they were coming pretty rapid fire. We might have missed somebody.
Now, how do you feel about Marcus Mariota? Do you think he needs to hang it up?
No.
I don't think so either. I think he's I think right now he's a career backup.
Here's the thing, and that's what I was getting ready to say. Mariota can latch on to a team that's got an established starter.
Yeah.
Maybe an established starter with an injury history.
Yeah.
I think Mariota is good enough that if he comes in as he's a backup quarterback for somebody's team, and let's say the starter's out for 4 weeks, he could probably win 3 of those 4 games, provided what type of roster he's with.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use a prime example. Use my team. Okay. 49ers have an issue with Brock Purdy's elbow. We still don't know whether or not Brock Purdy's going to be able to start the first 3 or 4 games of the season. And we also have Trey Lance, who is talented but kind of raw and also injury prone because we have a coach that likes to get our quarterbacks hurt anyway. The San Francisco 49ers is a good place for Marcus Mariota to be a backup quarterback. And simply because, let's say, Purdy doesn't come back till week 4. And let's say Trey Lance hits a wall, which I don't think will happen because a lot of people give him a bad rap. But I think he's super talented and he's had another year to study. But let's say it does happen. Okay. Marcus Mariota could go in and win 3 out of 4 games.
Yeah.
With that roster
and that system, because
he's that system, which is it's a quarterback friendly system.
So, and well, not only just being a quarterback friendly system, it's the fact that you guys run a lot of play action bootleg action, and Mariota has the speed to run it. Because if you're not careful, Mariota, I'm not saying he's RG3 when RG3 was in Washington his rookie year,
but he can scoop.
Yeah, he can scoop. So you may think that Christian McCaffrey has the ball, but if they play in a defense who's very undisciplined, a linebacker, Mariota's gone and he's picking up 15, 20 yards down the field.
Yeah. So as long as he has a mind, again, this goes to what we talked about before about knowing your worth. If he understands where he is at this point in his career, if he's okay with it, he could be a backup and go somewhere where he may get a chance. Because again, my God, Kyle Shanahan loves to hurt quarterbacks. I'm sorry, he does. So if you're a backup, I don't care if you 4th string, as we saw this year, we out there with the 4th quarterback in the NFC Championship.
Yep.
Even if you 4th string, stay warmed up, you might get a shot because Kyle's gonna do something crazy to get the guy in front of you hurt. So, that's an opportunity. If and say, hey man, I signed a 1-year deal and go out here and maybe play 5 games, play really well. Somebody's looking at me and says, hey, let's give him a shot. So as long as that mentality is there for someone like Mariota to say, hey, I know where I am in my career. I got to fight and claw my way back into. And I think he did really well for Atlanta. And he has some dark moments, but he has some really bright moments too when he played in Atlanta.
Right.
And I think he has enough respect to get signed on as a backup.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I don't think he should hang it up. No, I don't think he's as bad off as a Carson Wentz.
Oh God.
Yeah, because like I said, Mariota actually won some games for Atlanta. Atlanta was looking kind of spicy early on in the season. They fizzled out, but he had them looking kind of spicy for a little while. So I think he still got a little something. But that was a good. That was a good question.
Yeah. Let me address this real quick. Titus, you're gonna have to when the show's over, you're gonna have to go back and watch the show because we answered this question in the beginning. All right.
Well, technically, we didn't really answer that. He said, "What team do you think will trade up with Chicago?" Basically, who are Chicago's suitors? We kind of talked about Chicago, but we didn't talk about the suitors for that number one pick. So that's interesting.
Okay, well then the suitors, if you want to go suitors, Houston should be a suitor because they need a quarterback. Okay, dang, I hate when I can't get rid of ass fast enough. Indianapolis should be a suitor. Seattle probably won't be a suitor just because they're gonna probably try to keep Geno Smith. But I mean, I would be a suitor, but that's me. That's my personal opinion.
I'm hoping that Seattle stays with Geno Smith.
No, I get it.
As a Niners fan, I'm hoping that they stay with Geno Smith.
Detroit, I think they will Jared Goff. Vegas needs a quarterback. I think Atlanta's sticking with Desmond Ridder right now. Carolina needs a quarterback. Philadelphia is good. And Philadelphia's picking 10th overall because they traded with New Orleans. Tennessee saying they're sticking with Tannehill and they still have Malik Willis. We said Houston. So yeah, so just sticking in the top 10, it's Carolina, Vegas. It should be Seattle, but it's not going to be. Well, at least right now, tonight is not going to be. Indianapolis and Houston. So those should be the suitors for the number 1 overall pick. You got anything, or you want to go next question?
Yeah. That you pretty much summed it up pretty good. I think whoever gives them the sweetest deal, because whenever they put it out there that hey, we're looking to shop this pick around, that means that pick is gonna get shopped. So it's gonna get traded. In other words, it's just they're waiting on to see who can. All right, I got this right here. Who's gonna pay me for what are you gonna pay me for? And it's literally an auction.
But also the question is, how far back does Chicago want to go? Because I know Chicago don't want to go back too far, especially if they got their eyes on certain players. So while someone like Houston need to be doing the homework on all the quarterbacks, like I said earlier in the program, Chicago need to be doing the homework on these top 10 players, these top 5 players. You know, like I said, how far back do you want to go? Do you want to go back to number 2 to still ensure that you get who you want? Do you want to go back to number 4 where hold on, who was that number 4 again? Indianapolis, and maybe you might miss out on the player you want, maybe not, because the team before oh God, I'm all over the place. Why am I doing this? Arizona's not. Well, see, yeah, Arizona's going to probably pick somebody that's not a quarterback. So if you go back to number 4, like I said, you may not get who you want. So the question is, how far back do you want to get? How sweet enough is that trade offer compared to the player you want?
Yeah. So now, if I'm Chicago, let's going back to talking about Chicago again. But if I'm talking about Chicago, I trade back, and then I trade back again, and then I trade back again, and then I trade back again and have a boatload of picks. That would be the strategy I would go with. And now you're putting together a team, provided that your scouting department is good. That you can't go without that. You can't just have Joe Blow up there going and throwing a dart at the wall and whatever name it land on, that's who you draft. You can't have that going on. Yeah, Titus, I do. They should have their own.
They should have their eyes on wide receivers. The only thing about the wide receiver draft class this year, I'm not saying it's not good, but it's not AJ Brown, Julio Jones good. It's not Demaryius Thomas, Dez Bryant good.
No, what I'm saying. That's one of those things I think that they should go ahead and try to acquire a ace wide receiver in free agency. But supplement all those other wide receiver positions in the draft.
Yes, definitely.
Because Dante Pettis ain't gonna get it.
No.
So yeah. So, but I trade back. I'd go with the Patriot method. I trade back, get a boatload of picks. Again, I want to be clear. Your scouting department has to be on point where you can
and you got to be able to develop those players.
And you also have to have a coaching staff that can develop those guys into great players. I think that would be the economical thing to do, and it also would be long term. Again, I want to be clear, long term, that makes the most sense. Don't get caught up with that 98 million and say, let's go shopping, because a lot of times mistakes will be made, and also mistakes that you cannot financially recover from in the near future. I cannot stress that enough. The cap will come back and bite you. Just because you got it now don't mean you're going to have it later.
Hey.
Okay. So that was a good question.
Next question. And this, I know I'm going backwards again. What's the best situation for Derek Carr? The best situation for Derek Carr is
I like to see him go somewhere where there's a good offensive mind. I think I don't think he should go somewhere where the head coach is a defensive minded coach. All right, go out and win me a game. Yeah, he can't be with somebody like, okay, go out there and win me a game. It's got to be like somebody's going to work with him, work through his inadequacies, and accentuate his strengths. So yeah, so I think that's huge. That he has to be somewhere with a good system that's going to basically accentuate his strengths as a player. Because I still think he's a very good player. A lot of Raiders fans hate him, but I'm like, no, I think he's still a good player.
So then let me ask you a question. Since Frank White is the head coach in Carolina, should he go to Carolina? Should he go to? I think Indianapolis hired the OC from Philadelphia. Should he go to Indianapolis? Because I think Derek Carr wants a Super Bowl ring versus just trying to be with an offensive minded guy. I hear what you're saying,
right? But in order for him to get that Super Bowl, he's got to be in the right scheme. He can go to a contender.
And see, I hear what you're saying about but then you have the offensive coach that falls on the offensive coordinator for a defensive-minded coach. And I want to say the Jets so bad, but I don't know how much I trust Nathaniel Hackett as the OC. The Saints, I don't know who the Saints OC is right now. So
yeah, Eric Titus, help us out with that. Who is the Saints OC right now?
Titus, let us know, please. Who's the Saints OC? Let me look through some more of these teams because you're saying quarterback, offense, Philly, Tennessee, Houston, Jets, New England, Green Bay, Washington, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, you're not going to Tampa Bay. I already know that. Actually, Eric. Okay, maybe Baltimore. If they want to spend that money, if they don't bring back Lamar Jackson, maybe he might. I would look at Baltimore.
That's not. Now you talking about basically a scheme change, and you go into a contending team. So
yeah.
That or a team that can be a contender, if done right. So
I tell you what, hold on. Brian Daboll's offensive minded. Don't bring back Daniel Jones. Go get
Daniel Jones still up here talking about he wants $45 million. Sir, there are several seats here. I need you to have them. That's how I feel about Daniel Jones. Don't talk about that $45 million. So yes, that's another good spot, Brandon.
Okay, it's Pete Carmichael. I don't. It's been there with Sean Payton. Yeah, okay. I thought that's who it was, but I wasn't 100% sure about Pete Carmichael. But okay, I mean. But my thing is, Eric, just because, not you, Eric, but Eric James, just because he's been with Sean Payton doesn't mean that he's Sean Payton, because Eric Mancini was not Bill Belichick, neither was Romeo Crennel, neither was I don't know, some other defensive coach that left New England, went to become a head coach somewhere. So yeah, yeah. But no, that's a good question. Like I said, the Giants because he's upgrade over Derek Carr's an upgrade over Dan Jones for the Giants, and then he should go to Baltimore if Baltimore does not bring back Lamar Jackson.
So yeah, that was a good question. The door is open. He played his cards really smart. I just want to say that business wise, he asked for a release.
Yes.
He's like, oh, don't trade me, release me.
Yeah.
Because I got a choice where I want to go. And I can sign for whatever I want to sign for. I may sign less if this team is good. I may take less money because this team is good.
And he's giving himself time to make that decision.
Right. So that I like that. So he was smart business wise. It was a very good business decision that he made. Where do you think Leonard Fournette goes?
At this point in time, Titus, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Unfortunately, Titus, this is a who cares question. Leonard Fournette is not who he used to be.
I put Leonard Fournette. I put him in the same vein as I put Jalen Ramsey at this point in his career.
Yeah.
I just, he's gonna have to be content with being a guy who shares carries. He was already sharing carries with Rachaad White in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
He wasn't the it guy. Rachaad White was slowly but surely taking carries away from him. And that says a lot.
Yeah.
That says a whole lot about where he is. I watched one play when Dallas demolished Tampa Bay. I saw one play and I'm sitting up here like, this dude just ain't got it no more. There was one play where all he had to do was make a cut to the outside. And you talking about maybe a 15, 20-yard gain. And he did not have it in him anymore to make that quick cut to get outside. And it was there. The lane was there. The blocking was set up and he just couldn't get there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he doesn't have it anymore. It's just, if he's okay with sharing time and taking less money, he's still got a little bit of smidge of a career left. I'm going to say something really unpopular. Leonard Fournette is in the same vein as Ezekiel Elliott right now, in my opinion.
Eric.
I know people love him some Zeke.
Eric, I'm going to jump through the screen and high five you to death, man. Because I was like, I wonder if Leonard Fournette is on the same page as far as where the career is as Ezekiel Elliott. Dude, yes. I'm going to jump through the screen and high five you to death for saying that. I was just thinking that.
It's unpopular. I don't know how many Cowboy fans we got watching right now because I know they love them some Zeke. But and you know what? We were out in our football chat all the time, me and you and Steve, all during the season. Every time Tony Pollard got a carry, I come in on the Marco group like Tony Pollard on Zeke ass, like that.
And see, that's what got me wondering because I was like, yo, the way Eric is talking about Leonard Fournette and this rookie is the same way it is with Zeke and Tony Pollard. As soon as you said, I was like, oh my goodness, Eric.
Rachaad White is the future running back for Tampa.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for saying that about Leonard Fournette and Ezekiel Elliott, man. Yeah, those two guys. And be honest with you, Zeke is so bad now, and I know I'm going off topic, but I'm gonna move off of this real. I'm gonna spend like 5 seconds on this. Zeke is another football player that needs to retire. He probably won't.
Yeah,
but he should.
Unless
look. I'm telling you right now, when it comes to certain football players, I just think that when your time is up, you need to retire. And we need to get some of these young guys in, let them get their reps in camps and let them and develop them, man. Stop. There's a content creator who I like a whole lot, and Eric does too, Vosh Lombardi.
Yeah,
he says this.
He's
stop living off of old bodies.
Yeah.
Stop living off of old bodies. Zeke is old body. Leonard Fournette is old body. Jalen Ramsey, if he's not, he's getting ready to become old body. Stop living off of old bodies. We know what they used to be. They were great year 1 through about 5 or 6. but because either A, they didn't take care of themselves, they didn't do the necessary things to have a long career, they're not who they used to be. People have got to learn how to stop living off of old bodies, and Zeke and Leonard Fournette are a couple of examples right there.
Yeah, you can't live off that name. That name only goes so far.
Exactly. I tell you what, let's slide down because there's a lot of good questions. Hold on real quick. Who picks up Sammy Watkins? I mean, Sammy Watkins is a number 2 or 3 wide receiver in the NFL. Honestly, about Sammy Watkins too, Donald. If he's a number 2, number 3 wide receiver, and I know who he is, and I know I'm not getting much more out of him, the only reason why I would bring him in is because maybe I didn't draft a wide receiver. But other than that, I'm really trying to spend, especially number 3. I'm drafting a wide receiver. Like I said, unless I forgot to draft a wide receiver, that's the only way. If Sammy Watkins may not get signed until either after the draft.
I was just about to say that.
Or after rookie minicamps, when they get a brief feel of how they feel about the rookies in rookie minicamp, or just at some point, maybe before the season. But see, I know how the NFL is when it comes to free agents and like when there are different signing periods. I don't know when Sammy Watkins gonna get signed. The earliest may be after draft. The latest might be week 2 of the regular season. It's a big window.
Beginning of training camp is tops. Because during training camp you need like a lot of bodies.
Eric, I'm gonna be honest with you. Sorry to cut you off, dude, but if I got a bunch of rookie free agents at wide receiver, I'm gonna see what they look like before I even bring in Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins might not be brought in until cut down day.
Well, I would bring in a guy on cut down day. I'd rather bring him in when you got 90 players and then cut from there.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is to me the window could be. Do not be surprised, Donald, if the window is between after the draft and week 2 of the regular season. That's Sammy Watkins' window right now. Yeah, that's my opinion.
And again, that's going in that same vein of these players that we just talked about. They were names, but they're waning in this point in their careers.
Yeah,
Sammy Watkins has never been an alpha dog. He's always been a 2 or even a 3, and now his career is waning. So now you probably got some young 22-year-old kid that could probably do what Sammy Watkins does for less money.
29 years old.
Yeah.
When does he turn 30? June. He turns 30 in June. Nah,
before the season starts.
Forget it.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go to the next question.
Question. Will Kansas City really let Juju Smith-Schuster go? If so, why? Because see, this is look. This is why I love our shows, Eric. This is why I love our shows, because I can always go back. Now, I don't always remember what episode it was, but I know I can always go back and reference to what we talk about. Juju Smith-Schuster is a wide receiver, right? Yes. Not only can he be replaced by a rookie wide receiver, but we're talking about Andy Reid running this offense. Andy Reid goes through wide receivers like people go through pets every day.
Yes, sir.
When he was in Philadelphia, before T.O., before Deshaun Jackson, he had James Thrash, skinny Todd Pinkston with alligator arms, and first-round bust Freddie Mitchell, and was getting to the NFC Championship game. So he don't need Juju Smith. Juju Smith needs him.
Okay? And thank you for saying everything that I was about to say about Juju Smith. I think Juju Smith's a talent.
Yeah.
But that being said, they traded Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
If Juju coming there stomping around talking about I want this, that, and the other, then they'd be like, well, good luck to you. You can go get that somewhere else.
Bye.
Bye. That's what's gonna happen because Andy Reid has made his bones on getting receivers who don't have household names, or you kind of heard of them, but being extremely successful with them. And I said before, I said it, oh my goodness, when Tyreek Hill was traded last offseason, I sat right here in this chair in my home office and said, I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are more dangerous without Tyreek Hill than they were with him. And people was like, what? And I'm like, because you're spreading the ball around. There's no big name dude out there. It's like, oh, we just got to roll all the coverage to him. And no, they won the Super Bowl spreading the ball around to guys who didn't even have real big names yet.
Exactly.
You know, Juju was the biggest name in their receiving core pretty much. And he was just a 2 when he was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Behind crazy ass Antonio Brown. So, so Andy Reid has proven that. But also, gotta pat myself on the back. I said Kansas City is more dangerous. Go back and check the videos. Kansas City is more dangerous without Tyreek Hill.
He has said that. He said it.
And they have a Lombardi trophy right now to prove what I just said. So that being said, to answer the Juju Smith-Schuster question, if Juju wants to come back for a nominal fee, he might be back. But I guarantee you, if he come in there filming a TikTok video or whatever, and
tell me I want $16 million. Give me $16
million. You better TikTok your up out of here.
Bye.
We'll draft the guy.
Yeah,
they quick to draft the guy. They drafted Sky Moore, and he started coming along late in the season.
Yeah, and guess what? Guess what? You know who else might be out of Kansas City soon? Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, the injuries are a problem.
Because I'm like, I know you're still in Kansas City, but what have you done?
Your best ability is your availability.
And I mean, I get the whole speed thing. I can go find me a speed guy in the draft. Matter of fact, there's a guy coming out of Tennessee who's supposed to have a whole lot of speed.
And we're gonna find out this week in the combine, because these guys are gonna be running their 40s and doing their combine workouts. And then also pro days.
Hey, just real quick, just for quick laughs and giggles. I remember during a pandemic, everybody was running 40-yard dashes in the backyard, and everybody was running a 4.3. I said, ain't no way in the world everybody's a 4.3 football player.
So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. You got the combines coming up. That's a good way to segue to close this show out and to segue talking about what's coming up soon. They're in Indianapolis right now. They're doing interviews. I believe tomorrow, defensive linemen and linebackers start their workouts. And then, of course, the other positions. We've been running a 2-man show right now. We've been kind of running a 2-deep zone, but there are 4 of us. For those of you who are new, there are 4 of us. And when you see our opening montage, you see Tris TV and you see Steve. We have divided up positions, and we'll be doing our yearly scouting. And make sure you tune in the weeks coming, because we're going to start breaking down some of these draft prospects, along with, different things that happen as far as trades and signings and so on and so forth. But we're really going to focus on the combine, and we're going to focus on some of the standouts, some of the guys who we think might be sleepers. We've been looking at film for probably the last month. A lot of people don't know that, but we're going to come in, we're going to report. One show may be all about linebackers. One show might be all about defensive backs. One show might be all about wide receivers. And we're going to talk about these guys. We maybe have some video clips up, and we're going to talk about them as we break down film on these guys. So make sure that you, if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you tune in. We'll still be taking questions if they're good questions about, hey, what do you think about such and such from such and such university? What do you think he can wind up? What do you think about such and such in that 40 time? Do you think he's going to be a stud wide receiver or a running back? Well, he had a good 40 time, but We're going to share all our thoughts on these prospects. So make sure, if you're not watching the combine, or if you are watching the combine, make sure to tune in, because we're going to be talking about that. We're going to sit down. We're going to watch the combine play out this week. And when we come back next Tuesday, we're going to start talking about some things on that. And we're going to move on from there. And then we're going to go into free agency. And we're going to move on from there. We're going to start, once free agency has happened and the draft has happened and these rosters start to solidify, we're going to make our divisional picks for the season. which is always fun. We'll go from division to division each show, and we'll talk about just 4 teams. I'm sorry, did we do 8 a show?
Yeah, so no, we did. We did one division per show.
We did one division
because actually the content was good enough and long enough that we was able to make able to do one division show.
Yes. And that's gonna be getting close to the preseason that we'll be doing that.
Yeah, so you're talking about pretty much like before training camp, because training camp starts like late June. So we started like not late June, late July, late July. So we're gonna start probably around June, last week of May to early first week of June, that we're gonna be starting that talk up again. Also, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, not only is the combine going on in Indianapolis, but a lot of NFL owners and front office executives are in Indianapolis, along with player agents, which means that they're going to be still discussing contracts, and stuff. So, like today, Daron Payne was the first player to get the franchise tag. Remember, I said the franchise window, the window for the franchise tag a player closes next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So, I expect more players to get franchise tag. So we may talk about that next week. More players will probably be released between now and next Tuesday. It started last week with Taylor Lewan in Tennessee on Thursday. Carson Wentz been released. Leonard Fournette been released. Donovan Smith, left tackle, Tampa Bay, been released. So we're gonna have more releases. We're gonna have, like I said, franchise tags, and then after that franchise tag window closes, not only are we gonna continue to talk about just draft prospects, but we're also going to be talking about free agency, because the free agency window opens between the 13th and 15th. Legal tampering period 13th, 15th is the beginning of official signing. But I expect some trades to probably happen by then as well. So we are definitely going to be covering a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. It may be football off season, but we cover NFL off season.
No days off. Just the Fan Podcast takes no days off when discussing NFL. There's always something going on.
Yep.
So make sure you tune in. Lastly, make sure that if you have not hit that subscribe and like button, hit the like button, smash that subscribe button so you can get updates on when we come on. We're also gonna we have a new thing where we're doing promos. You probably see my face somewhere on social media saying, "Hey, it's your boy Pando 316 from Just a Fan Podcast." A lot of times we're gonna have a promo letting you know what our show is about. Tell a friend. Make sure they subscribe. Make sure that they like. And most importantly, keep the comments coming. We like them. Okay? So I think that just about wraps it up for tonight. Thank you.
Right now, we are live on YouTube. Like Pando said, please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. When you hit the subscribe button, put it on all. That way when we live, directly, because if you just hit the subscribe button, you're not gonna know that we're actually live. You get a notification much later. We're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitter, we're live on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also listen,
Spotify.
Oh yeah, that was next. You can listen to us on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that is the defensive mastermind of Pando 316. Hits as hard as Ronnie Lott. I'm the Wildcat quarterback and NFL encyclopedia that runs this thing, Coach Williams. Good night.